To thank everybody here today and for all the coverage, all the professionalism through the course of the year. I know the start of the year was a pandemic and lots of different protocols and structure, especially dating back 2 years now. But this room, I have a lot of respect for the people in this room and the work they put in every day to cover us and be part of what we do. And with that, I'd also like to thank all Sabre fans. This is a wonderful experience for me to have the privilege of coming to work every day to coach this team and be part of this organization. And there's a lot of good things that go through my head when I think of that. We are all on a mission to make you proud. I say that I think of the players, I think of Kevin Adams and our management staff and our scouts. It's amazing. The people that back here and behind it are in it for the right reason. And they feel pretty energized when we can make Sabre fans proud. So I want to thank the fans for that. Some amazing moments this year, whether it be the outdoor game, RJ night, RJ's last call, player performances individually, collectively, just an amazing year. So it's all part of a build. We know that the biggest thing I wanted to do and how I operate is get things going the right direction and keep them going the right direction. And we have a lot of, to get them going in the right direction, you have to have a clarity on where you want to go, how you want to proceed, and all the processes and intricacies that come with that. So you have to have buy-in. And I think our group here wanted to be on board with all of that, which makes it easier for all of us to do all our jobs. And just keep moving things in a progressive direction. And we've been able to do that. Where we are on that trajectory, it's in the context of our competitors, obviously, moving forward. But we do know we're going the direction we want to go, and we do know how to keep it going that direction. So, again, I thank everybody for being passionately involved, as I see that from everybody day to day in their jobs and in this room and with our fan base. It's very inspiring to know that you're going to work and you have people so passionate about not only the game of hockey, but the Sabres specifically. So a lot of fun. I feel privileged to be here, and I will turn it over to the room.
Don, as you met with your players for their last meetings with you before they went home, what was your main message to your players as you wrapped up the season?
Paul, I wanted to hear from them. So I wasn't too concerned with the message I needed to give them because I felt the messages that we gave them through the year, we saw them internalizing those and accepting those, embracing those, and even enhancing those. You pass along a message to the players and the team through the year, and then you sit back and you evaluate, okay, are they internalizing what you said? Are you communicating that well enough? Is there clarity? And, when there wasn't, Kyle Okposo would come talk to me, or Darlene would ask me a question, and we would correct it and steer it the right way. So when the year finished and we had our individual meetings, I didn't feel I had to tell the guys anything. I was more wanted to learn from them, to feel what they felt, and so it was open discussion for them to lead the way. I mean, I gave them points that the other players had talked about, or typically what players could discuss. How you felt, highlights of the season, those sorts of things, and they just ran with it. So I like, in my meetings, we included the whole coaching staff. I don't like, I'm not a formal guy. I don't like formal. I think there's a place for it, but it's certainly not behind the scenes for us. And we had the entire staff in there and our video coaches in there, and I enjoyed the calm that the players have around our staff and our group, the trust that they have in our group, and it was nice to hear them open up and discuss what they wanted for themselves and what they experienced for themselves. And there was very little feedback that I felt I had to give them, which is a nice position to be in.
Last week, Don, you said that amid preparing for each of these games, that it's easy to get lost in the progress these young guys have made because you're always thinking about, okay, what can I give them next? Well, now that you are at a point where you can reflect, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, what's it like looking back on the progress that all those young guys made under you and your coaching staff this season?
I mean, progress is all about, that's our intent, that's our focus. So it is rewarding, and it's extremely rewarding when you see players achieve, knowing they put the work in, they do what you ask. But there really isn't a lot of, I reflect, and when I reflect, it's that. I reflect on the season, it's like, RJ Knight, it's Okposo scoring his 20th, it's Skinny finding his scoring touch again, it's Tage scoring 38 goals, it's Victor fighting through an injury to finally come back and persevere, it's Mitzi scoring the overtime winner to finish the year. Like, when I reflect back, that's what I look at. Like, the rewards these guys got is phenomenal for me. And Craig Anderson is his 300th and then some. Yoka Haru becoming a leader and grabbing Owen Power and wanting to partner up with him. It's Darlene becoming an all-star. Those are special for me personally. Then I move forward. I just love that our team. It feels like our team. I talk about a direction. It feels like when you go a direction, it's a trajectory. You just keep getting better, and you target things as a coach. Okay, what are our capabilities present? What are our capabilities going into this game, whether it be Boston or going into whatever? And then what can we put in front of them that can challenge them to become better? And it felt like we just kept moving up and up and up. And I feel like, okay, the exciting thing for me is we've gotten to this level is the next thing. Figuring it out and then targeting it and moving on it. And the off season for me, the excitement is I can move on to the next thing. And we can move on to the next thing. I've talked about building our offense. We can do more there. We have way more lineup stability with what Kevin's been able to do with our roster. A year ago we had so many unknowns with UFAs that we knew our roster was going to be completely different. And this summer or this off season, we know what our roster is going to look like for almost 9 out of 10 positions for next year, or 8 out of 10, and that's amazing because now we can move on to that. We can start thinking about what we want to do on day one, day two, or game one, and that's exciting. That's very, very exciting as a coach.
Don, you said many times, November, December, January, February, you weren't as obsessed about results. You were obsessed more about making sure these guys were playing the right way and the results would come. In March and April, the results came. Now, as you go forward, how much of that was a feeling you needed to get them to believe because they were a young team, and how much do you continue that theory when you're trying to strive for the playoffs now? Does it change at all when the goals change a little?
No, we will have a focus of getting better until we win a championship. It's not gonna leave. Like, we just want better, more, and competitive people want more. They have an unsatisfied appetite, and that's what we want in players. When we look at players, I don't want a player that's satisfied. I don't want a player that wants to stay the same. And that is the culture we want to build. We want guys here that want more, that are hungry for more, not trying to be, I won something here, so let's replicate that. No, let's do it better, bigger, stronger, faster, harder, and so that mentality of getting better will never change. We talk about winning, if there's one thing, and I'm not a greedy guy, but if there's one thing I'll ever be greedy about, it's winning. And you can't win enough, but there's a process to winning, and if you don't respect that process, you're not going to win enough. And I think respecting that process is continuing to compete hard every day, whether it be a practice, compete hard in your preparation, and then target the right things to win. And So no, we're gonna keep operating as we've operated this year. It's the only way I know. And I've been fortunate to be around a lot of winning in my career, and I like the direction we're going, but we got a long way to go.
Don, pardon me if this is the same question, because, but when you enter into the equation expectations, there will be more expectations. You laid a foundation here, and everybody saw signs of that blossoming over the past 2 months. But when you enter expectations and the pressure of expectations into the picture, that this team needs to build on whatever it did this year and compete for a playoff spot next year. Ultimately, it's wins and losses now. How do you alter your message in any way, or how do you confront the expectation, the pressure of expectations?
Yeah, I think pressure of expectations is an indicator of your belief in yourself. You know, when you doubt those expectations, you can crumble under them. You could feel pressure from them. So for our guys, even the moment we took the job over, we talked about our belief system. And, you know, at that point, we didn't have a real strong belief system that we could win a game. Obviously, we all remember that. And that was a lot of pressure for those guys. But they you know, behind the scenes, we're working on that belief system. And a lot of what I coach is to strengthen that belief system. And we want guys that you feel external pressure of expectation when you're not dialed in and you feel like things are out of your control. And what's in our control is that next game. Preparation starts with preparation for that next game. When you get in the game, it's out competing the guy across from you, like, you know, and we have a culture where guys thrive on the moment, and we're creating that culture. They've created that culture. Our group has, that the moment matters, and we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves. And I think the playoff stuff is awesome for fans. It's awesome for people in this room. But that's not anything about us. We can't worry about 6 months from now. It will take care of itself when we take care of what we have complete control over. And it doesn't have control over us. So, you know, I like where we're at. I don't have an answer to whether we're going to make playoffs or not next year. I have an answer. I have to stay focused on just keep getting better and win the game in front of you. And I know if we do that, good things are going to come. So we do that we've got to walk that with confidence, and I believe this group will.
Don, you have a good idea of who you're going to put on the ice next year and hopefully what kind of product you want it to be. For season ticket holders that didn't have them this year, what would make them want to come back to watch this team next year?
Well, I could tell you what I hope. I mean, I hope they love hockey and love hockey. Even typically, when you love hockey, you love the speed and the passion the guys play with, and the intensity, and then you factor in consistency, bringing it each and every night, and that usually comes with the internal drive of a player, you know, and we can help or hurt the environment of that in the position of leverage that we're in as coaches or management. So, you know, we want to set our culture up so it's conducive to that. We want to bring players in that will play fearless and passionate, and to do that, they have confidence. Dylan Cousins comes to mind. I mean, that guy believes he's going to be an impact player and help win. We all see that, and he's going to because of that drive. He will not quit until that happens. And we have lots of guys like that that are fun to see. So, you know, it's almost like there should be enough to entertain you, but enough to intrigue you also. Like, how good are these guys going to be? And how good are they going to get by virtue of how they're playing and how they're attacking situations? And that's what we feel we're building, and that's something we will never be satisfied with. You're never satisfied with something you really love. You want more and more and more. And our guys, like I said, you get guys that compete and love to play hockey. I'll never be able to satisfy their appetite. You just put another challenge in front of them, and that's the group we want. So, you know, that's what we'll keep doing, and if it's something you like, then we welcome you here, that's for sure. But no, we know we have great fans and great people that love the game of hockey, so we want to do our part in, making it fun and intriguing for them as well.
Don, how concerned are you with the injuries this year, the amount of the injuries, how long they took, whether they were handled right? Is that something you're going to look into? Is that a concern?
Yeah, I think that's probably, when you talk about something to that, it's probably more for Kevin to speak on that. I don't have a concern because I have to focus on what I have to focus on, Paul. So, when we're missing guys, the fact that we missed, and again, I remember at one point we had 11 guys on the right of my board up there that were not healthy or couldn't play. As a coach, my mind turned right to me, okay, how is this an opportunity for us? This is an opportunity for us. We're in survival mode. Let's learn how to survive. Like, just fight through this. And our guys got better. The guys that were in that fight got better. So when we got healthy, they were better because of it. And injuries are part of our game. We had a lot of injuries, and I don't know where we were. Man games missed for the league. I know we were up top, but there were other teams there too. And so for me, I process that way. Kevin and I obviously have lots of discussions that will happen now on various points, but my thoughts on it will probably, I don't have much thought on it right now, Paul. But I know it's just, my first thought was just part of the game, and you got to deal with it as a coach.
Now, how did you see Rasmus grow into his leadership role? Because, you look at him even from 5 months ago, he just seems so much more confident, standing at that podium, he wants more, and he seems like, not just on the ice, off the ice, it seemed like he hit a different level, I guess.
Well, it was fun to be part of it. And I noticed the same thing, and that was obviously the hope for us as coaches was to move him and all our guys along in that, and being confident in who they are. We have lots of structure underneath, within our system and stuff, but there's, I never want to have too much structure where it sabotages the freedom for people to be themselves and the originality and then the confidence in themselves, in this forum. And we talk a lot about, these guys are under immense pressure. They're professional athletes. They make good money. They're role models within their families when they enter the league, within their neighborhood, everything. There's different pressures to come to that, and they've never been in that situation until they get in the NHL. Then they become an NHL player, and sometimes, I've watched and witnessed it over the years. Okay, how do I act? How does an NHL player act? How does a player in this situation or person in this situation act? And, sometimes we run our organizations and we project that. You have to act this way. And we don't. We want our players to be themselves. And we need to support them in being themselves. And, when you see players comfortable being themselves, whether it be in here, we don't want players to come in here and not be themselves. We want our fans to see that this guy's different than that guy and see their personalities, because that's what's going to make this thing special. And so when you see the guys feel more comfortable doing that, it's awesome. What we want to do as coaches was unleash Darlene's competitiveness. Dahl's, my observation of Dahl's and being around different players was this is a guy that cares so much that he stopped thinking about himself to think about, okay, how do I help the Sabres? How do I become what everybody wants me to become? So every mistake was he more wanted to please the coach. And what do you need me to do? What do I do? And then he's concentrating on what I want him to do. And I really wanted him to just, no, don't worry about what I want to do or what you have to do as a number one pick overall. Just get in the moment, do what you do, and then we can tweak from there and there. And so that's our motive with each guy. And with Dahls, he's a guy that not only embraced it, but he's got talent that you want. You're going to bring it out of him that way. So it's really fun and rewarding for us to see him as a coach play the way, put his personality into his play. Again, we have enough structure underneath to support him. And if a lot of times there was errors and it was blamed on him, but it's because we didn't do the structure underneath him that we should have, and we're still learning that. So it is nice to see him be able to do that and grow in that area. And I think that, we enjoy him and his personality like we do so many guys back there. It's nice that you guys get to see more of that here. So I don't know if that answered it, Bill, but, okay.
Sorry. The exit interviews you said were more about hearing from the players. Did any themes stick out?
Lots of excitement about potential. So nobody was satisfied with what just transpired, although they were happy with it. But they were, if I am it's a summation of what they've said and the vibe they put across, it was let's get to work to build more. And again, that's a theme that Kevin Adams and myself, we've been working with the rest of the staff, so it's not just the two of us by any means, working to create that or foster the environment that can be created. You guys own this franchise. We don't. Like, you're on the ice every day. You're competing every day. You're getting ready for that next game, and you're going home sore and tired and worn out, and you got to go play the next team. And the group has taken that over to the point where you feel that they want ownership, they want responsibility, they're ready for the next challenge, and they're moved to that next challenge already. I mean, these guys are talking about next season, but they're talking about what they're going to do through the summertime for next season to get prepared for next season. So that was the kind of the bulk of what I grabbed from the guys, which was very nice to see as a coach. And I said, as I mentioned, I felt I had to say very little back to them. I felt they had a really good grasp on what I would want as a coach. Don't be satisfied for what just happened, although we progressed some, and stay hungry through the summer to build. And I think they all have that mentality. They want to get right back to work, whether it be in the weight room or different skill stuff.
Kevin Adams put an emphasis this offseason, even going back to last March, of keeping players who want to be here in Buffalo wearing the Sabres jersey, which obviously led to Sam, Risto, and Jack's departure. Those are three guys that had questions about wanting to be here. Could you have succeeded, come this far, laid the foundation that you did with any of those three guys present?
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far, John, to assume those three didn't want to be here. Like, I just don't want to.
They did express, questions about wanting to be in Buffalo a year ago.
But I don't want to throw and say these guys didn't want to be here. I think those guys, and I know for me personally, when I took over Ristolainen and Reinhart, Jack was injured, but Ristolainen and Reinhart were really helpful with me and pushing and turning, and we changed practices and had to go. We demanded that they be a lot more intense. They were so supportive of that. It was great. They were unrestricted free agents, so lots of different scenarios in there. So I want to clear that up first, because just in fairness,
Risto still had 1 year left of his contract, and Sam was a restricted free agent. So
it could have come back. He was going into that. You're absolutely right on that. So now that I said that, let's go back to your question so I hit it right.
Well, I guess in some, did guys who have been here for way too long been involved with the frustrations of losing, perhaps they needed a change of scenery to some degree, and maybe you folks identified that. And how much did them having to leave allow the youngsters to step up and fill the vacuums of those of leadership roles and roles more important?
Yeah. I don't want to speak on the movement stuff. I did feel comfortable speaking on Reinhart and Risto because I had them. They were spectacular for me as a coach. So the other stuff Kevin's going to be in, I think, he could maybe go a little further. But for the young guys, I can easily speak on that. These guys we identified, they were competent, capable, and hungry as hell to invested in Buffalo and the challenge of trying to, everybody says fix something. We're trying to fix anything. Everybody says rebuild. I think if you win the Stanley Cup, there's one team that rebuilds, the team that wins the Stanley Cup. They built it to win a cup. Everybody else is building. They're just building. And so these guys wanted to build. They want it better. The appetite is huge, enormous, and unsatisfied. And that for sure, for me, was I spoke plenty that this is the job I wanted last summer. I was an interim coach when I took over, and there were vacancies all over the league, or not all over the league, but multiple different spots, and I had no interest in going somewhere else. And it was because of the appetite of the young players here that had a huge capacity to develop. And, you know, that's exciting. It was exciting for me as a coach to be a part of, because I could see, you know, the potential of each one of those individually, and then how they could come together collectively. And so, you know, I had lots of people last summer saying, why aren't you, you know, seeking out this position in the NHL? And I said, I am not doing that. And that is why. It was motivated by the capacity and appetite of our young players, absolutely.
Given all that you guys as a group went through this season, how long you waited and worked for your first head coaching opportunity in NHL? What were the emotions like when you walk in that room at the end of the game Friday night and you sort of realize that, I mean, this group as it is, I mean, you know, it's going to be different. And this first season that you had as a head coach is over.
Yeah, you know, I'm grateful that I'm here and coaching this team and this group in Buffalo, but the job itself is, you know, I'm never going to be satisfied, and actually, I don't. It's almost like I've heard plenty of people tell me over the years, "Coach, smile," and you just want the next thing. You just, you know, you're happy we won the game in Chicago, but you're really, really happy and excited that you have something you can build on. You can move to the next, you know, because you're waiting to move up and win the ultimate, and you can only go one step at a time. And so when you take the next step, it means you can get to the next one. And for me, that's the drive, that's the excitement. I want to get to the next step so we can get to the next step. We can't go 5 steps ahead. You know, and as an example, you've heard me many times, we're not going to chase analytics. I know we're bad in this analytic and that analytic. When we get better, those will take care of themselves. It's just the next step. And, you know, for me, that's the excitement. I will say that, yeah, I've had a long journey coaching, but I've had confidence I'd be in the NHL at some point. I just wanted to be good when I got to the NHL. I want to be better when I got to the NHL. So the timing of taking over this team was perfect for me. It was right. It felt right. And then being in Buffalo itself, and there's some things that personally in my life were that just fit. This feels like the right spot to be at the right time. So happy and excited for all of that, grateful for all of that. But for me, it's always that next step. What's the next one?
Don, on that note, like where you are in your journey, everybody we've spoken to talks about the environment you've cultivated, playing free without fear of mistakes. Where does that locker room vision come from? How have you built that through your career journey? Is that personal belief system, previous teams? Where did that vision start?
Yeah, you know, lots of places. I mean, I was a player that loved the game, wanted to play in the NHL, and had some different experiences, great experiences in hockey, and some not so great experiences in hockey, where you're so passionate, you train so hard, and then you never get an opportunity in certain situations. And I know how that feels. And, you know, so I have a lot of respect for the players and the commitment and the demand that they're under. And we want to try to give them opportunity for all that work they put in to get the reward of it. And, you know, so you know, we want to create a culture. I say we, you know, it's I couldn't do anything without support of management, ownership, and you know, support staff around me. So we have an amazing staff that just engages in it every day, and wanting to see our guys, you know, be like kids, you know, enjoy the competitiveness of hockey and winning, and something they love to do. So we just want them to just connect with the reason they started playing the game to begin with. To me, that's really important. You know, you're playing this because you love it. And when you love it, you stay outside and, you know, 20 degree below weather, and your parents are telling you, get in here, it's too cold. And you're like, no way, I'm not going in there. And we want guys to connect with those moments, even though they're in the National Hockey League. And we're able to do that here. And again, that's for the support that I have all around me and above me and everywhere else. So.
My apologies. Do you think the Sabres alumni will recognize you at their next golf tournament?
That's a joke we got to explain.
Yeah, well,
We gotta
it's
explain
not a
that
joke,
one,
But
yeah.
it's something that you've come along, maybe it's how far you've come.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. And recognize me means I don't look like a foreigner walking in the room.
Yes.
Yes. No, my first week that I came on board as an assistant coach, the alumni had a golf outing, and I was invited in there, but nobody knew who I was. No one knew what I really looked like. And I showed up a couple minutes late, and I snuck in the back door, and a bunch of the alumni were looking back, and they're like, who is this guy walking in our room? And Rob Ray didn't even know who I was at that point. He moved from the front of the room to the back of the room to walk up to me and say, look around the room, can I help you? Like, you don't belong in here. And I introduced myself. He said, oh, okay, come on in. And so yeah, I hope I'm welcome, John.
Don, how have you noticed things change in the locker room from when you first took over a year ago to now? Just in terms of the way the players are with each other and you talk about cultivating that culture and things like that. How have you noticed from your perspective it different from when you first took over during that winless streak to now?
Guys are not afraid to be themselves, and they have a vision and with clarity on how we should be as a unit, as a collective whole. Credit to Zemgus, Girgensons, and Kyle Okposo, and on, where they really set a tone. I mean, you know, when you are yourself, you stick your neck out there. If you're a funny guy and you say something at the wrong time, and you get an older player, a veteran guy, and like, hey, shut up, or they're just belittled or whatever. And we don't have any of that. We maybe something would be there that somebody be corrected, but it's out of, compassion and care. And so I would say that locker room is a fun environment to go into, but a very businesslike when it's supposed to be businesslike. And to me, you got to have that on-off switch of, you can't take things too serious, but you need to take serious things to heart. And we needed to learn that, okay? You don't have to be serious all the time. You need to be serious when you need to be serious. And very businesslike and workmanlike, and we are, and our guys actually have found that switch a little bit, and that's nice. And it's through very, very good leadership, the guys I mentioned and more.
Kyle said that the guy sitting next to him before the New Jersey game said that they expected to win this game. We're going to win this game. Is that different from the beginning when you first took over last year?
Major shift. Because it falls in, that is the belief system that we had hoped to have, the believing you can win, believing you should win, for the right reasons. You plan and prepare properly, and you have the appetite and commitment to see it through, and those are kind of intangible things, but they're real things, and our guys. You got to have a feel for that. You got to have a sense for that. As I mentioned, when you should joke around and when you shouldn't, and when work's to be done and when it's playtime. And we're doing a much better job at that. But the real essence of it is they see the way they can win through the identity that we, personnel we have and system we play. So that is a big nugget, I guess. When you hear that as a coach, that's what it's all about. You need to get your guys to the point where they expect to win.
With how successful that leadership group was for you this year, and obviously a lot can change over the summer, but have you put any thought into naming a captain before next season?
Yeah, Kevin, well, I'll let him speak on that. We talk quite a bit. We talk quite a bit through the year, and the short answer to that is yes. I mean, that's obviously something we're hypersensitive to, in the positions we're in, and we feel that we have incredible leadership, and we're in a really good position to in light of that question, we feel that we're in a very, very fortunate position as me as a coach, and I'm sure Kevin as a manager. We're really excited about where we're at in that regard.
And how much did you enjoy watching Darlene grow as a leader this year? When we talked to him, he said, I'm a totally different person this year.
Yeah, that's everything. I mean, it's everything. We hope to do that with each guy and every guy, and we push for that for every guy. It's important. As I mentioned, they come in the league and it's like, okay, how do I act and be like an NHL player? Well, no, just play hockey and be yourself, and we're going to take care of the other stuff. How you can be successful and at this level, and it is so fun to see guys' personalities and them comfortable with who they are. And we have lots and lots of good guys. I don't think we have any bad. We don't have any bad guys. I'll say that right now. We don't. There's nothing to hide from our group. They're all good people, and that's what we want. Good, hungry people, and they fit it. Check that off. So that's why I can sit here with so much enthusiasm. We're young. We got a ways to go. We talked about the changing of the belief system, and I'm talking about winning, but it's harder, believe it or not, their belief system in scoring. We're missing scoring chances because they just don't understand yet that they can score now, and that was something that I talked with Tage a lot. I said, Tage, you've put in enough work. Like, it's score now, kid. You can do this, and it was almost like he needed to hear that don't wait for scoring anymore. Like, you've done enough training, and you're strong enough, big enough, smart enough. Like, score now, and he took that and then some. But I think our whole team is that way. We're creating stuff. We're not cashing in on it yet, but that's a big part of growth.
You talk about Dylan wanting it. He's possesses so much confidence. Like, just how do you see that how do you see that he wants it? Like, what does he convey in the room on the ice?
He forces things, Bill. Really simple. He wants to impose his will on the guy, and visually it would be he has the puck and he's used to beating a guy with just his physical attributes, so he might take the puck right to the guy in lieu of the space he had here, or as Thompson did a year ago. And Thompson a year ago, we talked with him a lot. He exposed too many pucks and he tried to beat a guy, and the message would be, Tomer, you can score the goal right now, even though that guy's standing there and the net's back there. You just rip it right through his feet and it's in, and put it on the board. And so just changing the perspective of it. And Dylan is so competitive that he wants it now, as we talked about Darlene. When Darlene makes a mistake, you could almost be certain he's going to make another mistake trying to make up for the last mistake he just made within 10 seconds. You just saw it. And he had to control that energy, take a step back and a breath, and not force it. Because when you force things at a level of junior hockey, you impose your will on the other team. You're good enough to do it. But nobody's really good enough to do that in the NHL. You've got to pick your spot. And, Alex Ovechkin doesn't go out there and score every shift. He gets 20 shifts a game. He scores one or two. It's a big night. So he picks his spot at the right moment. He knows when that goal is going to be scored or that space that is going to be created, and he jumps into it. And younger players tend to just push that moment. I want that moment now. I want that moment every shift. And they have to take a step back and discern, okay, when is it highly likely I can score a goal, or how can I score it differently, or how can I make a play? And that's just a process of acclimation to this level of development. And Dylan, and Dylan is in the process of this. He's getting so much better in so many other areas. It's great. So it's almost like, oh, he's going to work his way through this as Tage did. When he comes out on the other side, it's going to be extremely powerful. Just
complimenting the on-ice progress. The team's got a lot of support from the Buffalo Bills, especially the second half of the year. McDermott and Allen making visits, the newest draft pick being at RJ's last call. I'm curious the role you see that playing in the continued reinvigorization of the fan base and even for like this young locker room.
Well, I think I would hope Josh came back to the game because he liked it and he had fun. I know he talked to the guys and he's developing a friendship with guys on our team, and but that's really what you want it to be about. You don't want to be saying, hey, will you come over to our game? But those, so any time you have people like that that obviously people in our community look up to, be part of what you're doing here is awesome. It's when you see them having fun and want to be here, it is energizing to all of us to have them around and want to be around or enjoy being around. So it's a big boost. Hopefully in the future we keep playing a brand of hockey and move a relationship along that people all people want to come back and be part of this, just as you mentioned those guys.
So Owen's got 8 games of tape under his belt. How do you feel now?
Great, actually great. I tell you, I was probably sweating and nervous about, like, just stay healthy, just get the 8 or 9 or 10 games in at the end of the year, because it's going to be, he has all this hindsight now going into the summertime. And I mean, I thought he did spectacular. I'm not surprised by how he did, because I just have so much respect for his game and the work he's done to this point. But the value in having, that opportunity and integrating with our team, I didn't know how he would integrate with our team. I'm not surprised how he integrated with our team, giving our group credit for the people they are. They embraced Owen and were excited about Owen, and he came in and he was like a little brother to them, and then some, and that was nice to be part of.
And are you, as his NHL coach, relieved that he's not going to Worlds, that was a mutual decision so he can have a real offseason?
Yeah, those decisions are they have to be the players. So I would support whatever he really felt, and then say, okay, if you're going here, maybe this is something you could think of or focus on or whatnot. Like that, that's where I would get involved. And I don't know if that I would have said anything to him if he was going to Worlds in that regard. I might have just said, just go play. But the players, we want them to build over the summer, to train intensely over the summer. They understand that, they feel that, so then they make a decision on what they want to do. So, I didn't feel I should be pushing anybody to go to Men's World Championships. I think that has to come from within, but they do know their responsibility to us in the fall, and however they, whatever decision they make, we were going to support it either way.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, Don.
want to start by making sure I say thank you to our players, coaches, all the support staff around the team for the work they did day in and day out. Just really appreciative of their commitment, professionalism, how they handle themselves. But I also want to say thank you to the bigger part of the organization and people in this organization that work downstairs, upstairs, that really people don't see every day. Just the commitment that they have to the logo in this organization, and whether it's people in ticketing, making phone calls and talking to season ticket members, or our community relations staff, the great work they do. You think about operations and people that are here in the middle of the night, day after day, and just marketing and finance. There's just so many different parts of this organization that maybe don't get credit. So I just want to make sure I say thank you to them as well. And then lastly, I want to thank the fans. You've heard me say over and over again, we need to connect with this fan base. We need to earn their trust. We need to build something special here that our fans can be proud of. And I have to tell you, sitting some of the games later in the year and feeling the energy, I know our players felt it, but seeing the wave and, just the chants, and it's special. And I've talked to players about this, but there is nothing more powerful than one of our guys looks up and sees someone in the 300 level or a family there and knows they're wearing whatever jersey, and they're spending their money and their time and putting their energy into this team. It's powerful. And when our players recognize that and they appreciate that and the fans appreciate what they're saying on the ice, it's a big deal. It's really powerful. So I just want to make sure I started with that.
Kevin, last summer when you were going through that longer coaching search to make sure that you made the hire that you wanted to make, I'm sure you had other people weighing in, you need this, you need that, you need an experienced guy, but you stuck to the coach that you wanted to hire, that you believed in. And after one season, how do you reflect on not only the job that Don did, but obviously the entire staff?
Yeah, well, let's see. Donnie is, he's just a really, really good person. Let's start with that. And you want to be around good people, and you want to surround yourself with as many good people that you can have fun with, be honest with, back and forth. But you start there, and then he's an incredibly intelligent coach. He understands the game at a high level, clearly, but he also understands people, and the players trust him because he's honest. And then, I think his ability as a head coach to be in the moment and want the best for that moment, but also have perspective on the big picture and the development and how our players need to, just grow and learn. And it's not just because they're young, but that's just a really important part of coaching. And he has that ability to do that. And I think that's not easy. So, yeah, really excited about Donnie, the coaching staff in general. I mean, these guys they mesh really, really well together. Their personalities fit. They hold each other accountable, but they have fun. I mean, you want to have fun. This should be fun. And they have a great room in there. And I do believe that the players pick up on that. The players feel the energy. The players want to get on the ice early. The players want to stay on the ice late. And part of that is because they trust the coaching staff. And so, yeah, reflecting back on it now, I'm very appreciative and, thankful for the job they've done. And they're excited to get better, too. They want to be better themselves, and we're having those meetings now. But it's a good group.
Kevin, you obviously have a roster that looks pretty full on paper for next year. The one area everybody talks about is the goaltending. I guess the two questions I have is, how much of whatever happens with goaltending, the first step is going to be whatever Craig decides? And the second part is, how worried are you about the continued injury problems of EPL?
Yeah, well, in terms of Craig particular, just what he brings every day was a big deal. Not just the on ice. The on ice, I thought he performed very well. He was solid. He was stabilizing in there, calm, gave our team a chance to win every night that he played. But his presence in the locker room, his presence in practice, his experience, I really think that was a big deal, and the culture piece of what we're working towards. So, I'll leave out the details of he and I in our private conversation, but he knows exactly how we feel about him. And we owe him the respect to take a breath, spend a little time with his family here and just be honest. And that's what we've asked him to do. So he and I will be in, conversations here, coming after he has a little time to take it all in. So yeah, we'll see where that situation goes. In terms of I guess, Mike, the big picture, I'm really excited about, the internal answers I feel we have here within the organization for down the road. And I'd say, obviously UPL fits that. I like the way he played when he was here. I like the way he's battled through adversity, whether it's injury or just, inconsistencies at times. And then if you look at his games over the last, few weeks, and they were in, basically playoff mode where every game was almost do or die for them. He's played really strong. He played confident. He was giving his team a chance to win. So for me, there was a good maturity out of him. And yeah, certainly the injury, sometimes it's asking the question why. Is it just a fluky type thing? I mean, he got hit pretty hard there the other night when he's in the crease, and I don't know. There's much you can do about that, but that's something we'll talk about. But obviously, a guy like Devin Levi, what he did in college hockey this year is pretty special. And, just even in terms of my conversations with him and talking about where's he at in his career, next steps, the answer of, I'll share with you, one of the reasons we talked about him wanting to go back to school was because he said, I want to feel the pressure of being the top goalie in the country and having expectations on me and work through that. Like, that's a pretty mature answer for a young player to have. So I think it's just says a lot about who he is. But so big picture, we feel good internally. We'll look at different options, but what we won't do is do something to box ourselves out, or that maybe we would be uncomfortable down the road because we're just trying to do something, feel we have to do it right now. So we'll balance all that.
Going off that, Kevin, how tough is it to not get so excited with the way this team played in the second half of the year and want to make a move right now with draft capital or with a free agency or trades or whatever to try and win next year, considering the playoff expectations are now there from the fan base?
Yeah, I think you balance it all. I think what you can't do is, and you've heard me say this before, you can't hit fast forward. You can't just say, we're going from here to here. You have to, it's a process, and this is about us getting better. We're not satisfied right now. We played some really good hockey at the end of the year. I like the growth of our team. I like the growth of some individuals and majority of the individuals and the way it came together, but we have a long way to go. We got a lot of work ahead of us. So we want to make sure that we're setting this organization up for sustainable long-term success. And certain decisions you can make in the short term that maybe would, push you a little bit further along, it may come back to haunt you a little bit later. So we have to be really disciplined and careful as we put this together. We have to stay, really thinking about not boxing certain players out of whether it's a job here or even ice time within our team. So those are all the kind of things that we think about. But, you touched on playoffs. I really believe that when you're part of a team, you have to have goals. You have to have expectations. We work every day. We want to win a Stanley Cup. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, you got to get to the playoffs before you can win a Stanley Cup. So, okay, now take it back from there. What do you need to do during the season to make sure you're winning enough hockey games to put yourself in that position? Ultimately, that's over there. The focus that we talk about every day is, what are we doing today to be better than I was yesterday? How do we win the day? How do we win the moments within the day to be better? And if you approach that, whether that's my job, coaching staff, anyone, support staff, players, if you have that mentality every day, it'll take care of itself. And so that's what you'll hear us focus on, moving forward. We're going to talk about getting better, and that's a big deal.
Kevin, has Ryan Johnson made a decision yet?
He's at this point looking like he's going to go back to school. We've had conversations. He still is kind of, it's open-ended a little bit, but he's indicated that, where he's at right now and the team they have and the ice time he gets there, he thinks, at this point, he's leaning that direction.
Does that concern you?
No, I mean, you look at every one of these situations and it goes back to having honest conversations, which we've had. But, we're very supportive of players if they're in an environment that we feel they can get better, that's what we look at. And I know his coach and the coaching staff very well. I know the league he plays in, and think this will help him continue to get better if that's ultimately the final decision he makes.
Kevin, you made the point a lot of times last year of proud to wear the Sabres jersey. How much do you think the removal of Reinhardt, Ristolainen, and Eichel, guys who were getting fed up with losing and all this other stuff and were part of the older team, how much by removing them from the equation allowed this team to grow?
Well, I think it's let's look at the bigger picture first. When we talk about players that want to be here, it's about everything. It's not just about did they like the coach, or did they like a buddy on the team. It's, do you like getting up in the morning and living in this community? Do you everything about it? Do you truly believe that I'm in a position to succeed, and can I get the most out of my career? And when you have that, you can start to build something special. And that's why I talked about that. We have to have a culture of that. We have to have players that truly appreciate what this place is all about. We all got a history lesson this year. I said this to the players after the last game. Just being part of this season, and with all of the RJ, stuff going on, if you're Samuelson and you're seeing a call RJ made in Jumbotron, I mean, it's powerful, and you're saying, wow, okay, this is a history lesson in what this place is all about. So we want to make sure we identify people that truly believe in what's going on here and want to be part of something special. So as we made decisions, it was with that in mind. And then what we also wanted to do was put our young players in a position to be able to identify the core of this group moving forward. And we did, like I said earlier, we didn't want to box players out, whether it's a job or ice time. And, we wanted to make sure that we set players up ultimately to succeed. And that was our mindset, and it's going to continue to be.
On that note, how different is this locker room from last year to this year?
Well, I really feel that if you can create an environment where people can come in every day and be authentic and just be themselves, and that now is, you're putting them in a position to thrive. You're putting them in a position to maximize what their gifts are. And what I feel really good about this locker room is that's the way it is now. It's whether you're loud and funny, or you just are more quiet, or whatever that type of personality is, you're accepted, because the people in this room have a maturity about them. And I give Kyle Ekposo and Zymus Gergensen a ton of credit. They have, as more the veteran guys, kind of set a standard for how we are going to be doing things. But it takes everybody, and it's not just the players. It takes the coaches. It takes the equipment. It takes the trainers. I mean, just the whole culture isn't just one thing. It's all of everybody working together, and that's why I even talk about the bigger organization, where everybody's part of it. So I'm proud that we are now have an environment where people are accepted for who they are. And look at Owen Power. It's not easy to come in, regardless of how talented you are, to come into a team late. And what I loved about the way Owen came in here was, one, he was able to be himself and accepted by his teammates, and then two, just the way he wanted to fit in. I'm going to pick up pucks after practice or water bottles. I mean, that's big deal. And then the players, if everybody feels that. So that's the environment we want. We got to keep working at it.
With the cohesion and the improvement that you've seen this year, do you feel like this rebuild over the last year is mostly over now?
Well, your word, never mine. Build. It's a build. And it's important because you're always building. It's never over. It's always about getting better. And what I feel good about is, you look at our team now and the continuity within the staff and the players. The majority of this team, will be back next year here. They just have that much more experience, but you're building. And we want really good players and really good people that love being here. And when that comes together, and I think what we feel is it's starting to, it can be special and it can be powerful, and the players now believe, and that's a big deal.
Would you like to still add an established defenseman this summer?
Yeah, well, it was really interesting watching the young group play there, and it's why, I didn't probably say it earlier, but just with getting Owen signed and in here, it felt like really wanted to see how it all fit together. And talking to the coaches, talking to the players in the exit meetings, I asked a lot of questions just about, right shot, left shot, right D. I mean, I don't know how close you guys watch when you a pair like Dahlin and Samuelson, and it's hard to figure out who's playing which side. There's the way they're moving around, and part of that's by design, from the way Donnie and the coaches put the system in, and part of that's the chemistry and them just, doing their thing. So less focus on we have to get a right shot defenseman to play with Owen Power or Rasmus Dahlin. More about, is there the right person that fits what we're doing here that can be additive to all parts of the culture and their on-ice play. So yeah, for sure we're going to look at that, but probably more comfortable with figuring out that right type of fit rather than it has to be this type of fit, if that makes any sense.
You've mentioned Kyle and Zemgus, and I know you and Donnie are both comfortable with the leadership group. What goes into the decision of going forward that way or going forward naming a captain?
Yeah, I think when you look at this season, we wanted to be careful to put too much on just, one guy, especially as we were, building and transitioning into this phase. But we wanted to make sure we gave the young guys a voice and let them, have their time to learn and be comfortable in the locker room. And it doesn't, just because you don't have a letter doesn't mean you can't be a leader and can't speak up. And that's what those guys in that room have established, that anyone can say anything when they feel it's the right time. So, Donnie and I will continue to have some conversations, but, I can't highlight enough Kyle Ekposo and what he means to this group, and from the exit meetings to just, the all day during the season, every day, just the conversations where I'll have with him or other people just to say, what he's done and what he means to this group. So, we're excited. We feel that we have a really good now group of leaders, and we also have younger leaders that can be themselves, and regardless of actually being an assistant or a captain or whatever, have a voice, and that's powerful.
You talk about guys being more comfortable. How did you see Rasmus Dahlin grow into being more comfortable, not just on the ice, but in himself, like talking to us and so forth?
Incredible. I give Rasmus a ton of credit. He made it very clear, and I don't know if you guys remember last year during this press conference, I was energized. The young players that we spoke to at the end of the exit meetings, they were hungry. They wanted this. They want to get better. Rasmus was the one leading the charge, and I saw really something special out of him last year starting in that meeting. He came right into training camp confident, wanting to make a difference, and I think what you saw with Rasmus was starting to believe in that he could be a dominant player night after night. And you're not always going to have your A game, every night, 82 games. It's hard, but there's a lot of games where he's the best player on the ice, and I think he's the type of person that wants to be great. He wants to be the best, and he's going to put the work in. So those are the guys you start to really get excited about, because they're not satisfied. They want to be better, and he's a great teammate. I mean, the guys look to him as a leader now, and they look to him because of his habits, his work ethic. I want to get on the ice early and work on my game. I just played 26 minutes last night, but I'm going to be the first one out there working on something. That sends a message to everybody in the locker room, and that's a really impressive kind of progress, since where we were here last year.
For you, what's it like entering an off season where you don't have to deal with all of the stuff that you had since you got this job?
Well, I don't know. I might sleep a little more, but you're always thinking. You're always working to how can we get better? What can we improve on? There's certain things, quite honestly, that I haven't your priority list, and I haven't had time to really be able to dig into. And take a deep dive on, which we're going to do this off season in certain ways. There's ways for me that I want to get better. I want to get better at this job. I want to be a better general manager. I want to be a better leader in this organization. So part of, if I do get a little bit of downtime, part of that will be maybe time for me to reflect I haven't had a lot of that time to say where did I do things well, where could I have been better, why, have conversations with people. I try to learn from every conversation and just, push myself. So that's, maybe just on a personal note, kind of some of the things I'll be thinking about a little bit.
With 3 potential draft picks in the first round, how do you go about that if Vegas stays outside of the top 10 and you have 3? Might you consider leveraging one of those assets or whatever to move up? And/or would you prefer Vegas to maybe win the lottery so you get 2 assets a year later?
That's why we were comfortable either way. If that's the way it shakes out, the first round picks are very valuable. So we were comfortable either way. I think, John, when it comes to this year's draft, we'll be open. We will have conversations. Is there something that we do that makes sense that we think is going to put us in a better position? Then we'll do it. What we won't do is do something we think is just a short-term fix, because that's just kind of what I talked about earlier. That's not where we're at right now. If you're putting me on the spot, I would expect that we would make our 3 picks. I believe in the pipeline you have to build. When we talk about long-term sustainable success, you need talent. You need talent that can come up from Rochester, and you don't have to rush them. You can let them grow and develop, and then when they're ready, boom, they're here and they're ready to be impactful, not just surviving. So a lot of that is how you draft and the assets that you have. That was part of our plan, was to accumulate assets. Now, so we would expect that we would use them that appropriately. But you've got to be open. You got to be in the conversations, and you have to be ready for any type of thing if the right opportunity presents itself.
In retrospect, thank you. And when the turning point of this season seemed to be that Vegas game, the 3-1 win, when you get Tuck and Krebs both getting involved in that win, and just the energy in this room, I'm not sure, from your perspective, did this team have to for lack of a better phrase, exercise that ghost in some ways? Because that seemed to be, aside from the Toronto wins, but that seemed to energize this franchise moving forward. How important was that? And given how much patience you put in to make that trade, how validating at this point was it, looking back, in getting those 2 guys?
Well, the first part of the question, I'll say, you look at different times in the season and games and experiences you're about to have as growth opportunities. And I felt that the Vegas game, if we're focused on that game in particular, was an amazing growth opportunity because of the emotion around it and the building, people talking about it, and all eyes on our team and watching that game. How is it going to unfold? Look, that's playoffs, right? Like, that's what happens in the playoffs. The lights are a little brighter. There's more reporters around, the cameras, and so you have to understand how to handle all of that and still be at the top of your game. So I looked at it as this is just a great growth opportunity. Now, the way it played out and our guys performed, I was proud of. And what got me more excited, if I'm looking at other games and just different situations, whether it was the outdoor game or some other bigger games down the stretch, our players elevated. You think about RJ night and just, they elevated, they stayed calm, confident, and executed. And even the last game where, it was a nice way to kind of finish for us, it was tough. We didn't have a lot of energy, and they found a way, they fought through. So those are all growth opportunities. In terms of the trade itself, it's Alex Tuck and Peyton Krebs are unbelievable people. Like, these guys, they care. They love the game. They love being a Buffalo Sabre, and they're just they're really good people. And we're really excited about the hockey players they are. I've said this to Alex. I think he's still scratching the surface of what he can do as a hockey player. I think he has another level. And Peyton's young. Peyton's a young player. He had in my opinion, he did a great job for us. But he's learning from all these experiences. He's processing what it's about to play in this league. And he's young, but he's just hungry to get better. So, man, it's just it's exciting as I think back on it, and it's why maybe people did say it took a long time or were patient. But it's because, in my opinion, we just couldn't compromise on what we needed to do for this franchise. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Kevin, there was a lot of talk, obviously, early in the year, especially about attendance. And there were extenuating factors, we all know, and the attendance grew as time went on. Special events, winning team, more wins, so more people came, and I would expect more people keep coming. The one thing we hear every single day from people when you talk about your whole organization is the building is a dump. You know, my seat is broken, my cup holder is broken, that kind of thing organizationally. What can you tell people if they want to come and spend their money to buy tickets about just the physical atmosphere? They're not going to get a $300 million renovation of this building yet, but in the short term, what can you give fans as a message to the way they're going to have a game presented to them?
Well, yeah, so when I think about our fans, I and I have had, and you may or may not know this, I have had some season ticket member conversations where, I'll be with a couple hundred people, and for an hour, they'll ask me questions. And I hear a little bit of that, but what I mostly hear is, I want a team that I can really rally behind and get excited about, and can't wait to get to the arena. And so I hear the conversations or the questions or the things that are brought to me are more focused on that. And that's part of my message to our team, is about earning the respect and earning the trust. And when we do that, and we're in the process of that, we have to keep doing that. We have a long way to go. I feel good about, how the other things will fall into place. When you come to the arena, you want to be entertained. You want to have fun. You just want to say, man, I love this team, and I think that's our job. But yeah, when there's other things that you're talking about, one of the things I've learned in a leadership position is you have to know, right? Like, you have to know these things. So we need, as an organization, if that's the case, and a fan is in a seat that something's wrong with, then they need to make sure they tell someone and tell us, and we'll get it done. So sometimes that stuff is talked about, but the people that can actually follow through and do it may not even really totally know. So I think that's part of the interaction and the trust that we need to have. We need to make sure that we're communicating, asking questions. I think the biggest mistake you can make when you're in an organization is not talk to the people that are coming. Have conversations, ask questions, and then listen. Sometimes people ask questions, but you forget to listen. So we all need to listen and be better, and then make sure that whatever the priority of our fans is and helping them with their fan experience, we can deliver on.
You said you wanted to be better. A lot of people would already say the drafting has gone really well. The Eichel trade certainly looks really well off the top. I mean, in terms of putting together a hockey team, what do you think you need to be better at?
Me personally, you mean? Yeah. Well, I think when you look at the team, if I'm just putting myself saying, like, okay, today, what do I need to do, or what have I learned? It's really challenging sometimes to take a little of the emotion out of it. And so I think what I need to do is at times watch where our team is at and give us honest assessment, and then sometimes just get out of the way. Get out of the way. Like, for me, sometimes, I love talking to the coaches. I love being in there. I love being part of it. I love talking to our players, and they would probably tell you that's, I don't know, in my experience as a player, is rare, but I love that part of it. But then sometimes for me, I just need to just let things happen, and let them go through whatever the ups and downs and the challenging parts. And that goes back to the leadership. When you have a guy like a Kyle Okposo that is kind of just keeping things even keel, it helps. And then the other thing I would say is just being present, and for me is so important, because sometimes in this job you can think about all these things down the road, or I got to do this, or what's going to happen when we need to sign this guy, or sometimes you just need to be present. You just need to take it in, and so that's something I probably work on as I get more experience in the job.
Only played 8 games. Just what surprised you, what impressed you, and just how valuable are those 8 games moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I just think really valuable, because he's very self-aware. He's very, he has a extremely high ability to process his own game. And so he will take those 8 games experiences and absolutely help him train this summer. I got to get better at this. And, so, and, his answer to me in the exit meeting was very interesting. I found, like, what was the biggest thing, like when you jump into an NHL game coming from college. And most of the time, the answer is, well, the game's faster and the players are stronger. And what he said to me was the players are smarter. And so, he's now processing that. As I go back for a defenseman, I check my shoulder, I might not be able to go, just there with the puck because this guy's smart. He's jumping the winger, you know what I mean? So he's processing all that. Really incredibly excited about him in the future. He's a great person. The poise he shows within games. He loves it here. He wants to be here. He believes in what we're doing, and he's a great teammate, and he can just come in and be himself. We don't have he doesn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders. He doesn't have these expectations. He has to be something. Just come and be yourself, and that's been the message to him. Be the best version of yourself every day, and, he's a talented kid. He's going to continue to get better and better.
Kevin, you have a lot of hockey experience, obviously, been around a lot of teams. You said that in your experience it was rare for a GM to kind of be so present. What's it been like for you being so engaged with this top-down culture that John says he can only cultivate with your support?
Well, I just, I feel very strongly that when I got this job, I promised myself that I had to be me. And yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure, and it's just a lot going on that you can get distracted and you can forget. At the end of the day, be the best person you can be, treat people well, surround yourself with good people. That's it, right? And just be honest. You're not always going to have the right answers. You're not always going to, sometimes you think in these jobs you have to have the answer all the time, or you have to be the smartest person. Just be honest and do the right thing. And so for me, that's been the message to the players, is I'm going to ask you questions. Just be honest with me. It doesn't mean that, there's anything wrong. And then it also allows you to build relationships and to then have harder conversations, because it's not always great. You have to be able to bring players in and just, really have that honest back and forth dialogue. So I think I would have appreciated that as a player, to have that type of relationship with the general manager. So, you'd have to ask the players, but I do feel good about what we're building and how we treat each other in this organization. And that's the same for, it doesn't matter if I'm upstairs and I'm, it's an intern, like, we want to treat each other with respect. We want to do the right things here and make this a place that people love to come to every day. And it's just, that's what I believe very strongly and how I try to act every day.
And speaking of leadership positions, where are you guys at with naming a captain?
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We're something Donnie and I have spent time already talking about. We feel that we're in a different place than we were, last summer at the start of the season, whatever you want to say. So, we're gonna continue here over the next couple weeks to have those conversations, but we feel that we're in a pretty good spot there. All right, thank you, everyone. Oh, and quickly, I do want to say thank you to all of you, because I know your jobs aren't easy, and I appreciate how you have treated our players, treated the coaches, the respect and the professionalism that you guys have all had, the way you've handled that. So I really do appreciate that, the coverage we get. I think it's a big deal. So I just want to make sure I say thank you to all of you. So, all right.